Hello and welcome to the Album Man, and today I'm doing CDs and vinyl I bought recently for April, yes, because it's May at the moment, so for April 2014. Yes, it has been nearly a month since I last made a video, and I am still currently on a hiatus. I will be on hiatus until about the 3rd of June. I'd say that's when my exams are over, but as I have a bit of downtime today. There's 4 exams down, 3 to go, for take a bit of a rest and finally make this bloody video, because I have some really interesting and pretty cool pickups that I got in April. Vinyl and CD, particularly as I went to Scotland and Edinburgh, and damn, Edinburgh has some amazing record stores. Like, seriously, it's a fantastic place for CD and vinyl hunting. I got some great stuff that happened to record store day as well, which was kind of cool. I didn't get any record store day stuff, just so expensive, way over my budget. I am a budget vinyl and CD collector. I can't afford, fancy reissues and all that stuff now. So we'll start with a couple of LPs before we get into the Scotland stuff that I got from Quicksilver Music in Southport, which I talk about probably every single episode because it's just such an amazing shop. And here was some great. So these were £2 each. I thought pretty much bargains. Thin Lizzy's Jailbreak. Now I have most, well not most, I have most of Thin Lizzy's discography on vinyl, but I never had Jailbreak, which is odd because it's one of my second favourite studio albums of theirs. My favourite studio album, Black Rose of Gary Moore. I mean, Gary Moore and Thin Lizzy, what more you really want? Well, except for the Live and Dangerous thing. But interesting, this actually has a bit of a concept to it, which I didn't know. Well, apparently it was originally going to be a concept album, but then they ended up being scrapped. So only a couple of songs, like Jailbreak, I think, Warriors, maybe Fight or Fall, maybe, only a few songs really have anything to do with the very odd concept about a warrior in a 5th dimension and Overmaster. It's an amazing album. I love this record. Another thing for £2, a bit dodgy condition, but for £2, considering how, well, you'll see the sleeve, nice, I mean, what the hell is with this cover? What is going on here? How many drugs must they have been on to come up with this cover? I mean, you have a half-naked woman in a room that, I just don't even know, in a butterfly. It's an odd cover. And this is not one of Yes's best albums. This is Yes's Time and Wed. I believe this is their second album. Is it second album? I think so. I think it was before the Yes album and after the self-titled one. And this is before we had, well, really, you just have mainly John Anderson, Chris Squire, Bill Bruford, but before Steve Howe was in the band. Instead you have someone else. I don't even know. It's not a great album. Like, on here, no, there's 9 really essential, but for £2, I like a good bit of Yes. So let's get into the Scottish stuff, and let's start with, well, we'll get to one of the most interesting vinyls in my collection in a second, so stay tuned for that. But first, we'll talk a bit about Dylan, and a bit about his religious period. Yes, Slow Train Coming by Bob Dylan. I've said before how it's my intention to eventually collect all 36, I'm gonna say, of his studio albums. So I had to pick this up, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I genuinely thought this was gonna be appalling, based on particularly Got to Serve Somebody. Now, is this a great Dylan album? Hell no, it's not. It's pretty poor. A lot of the metaphorical imagery of the lyrics have gone. The lyrics are bloody straightforward. They're all about God and Christianity and not stuff I particularly relate to as an atheist. I mean, one of the songs called "Man Gave Names to All the Animals." Yeah, still it has some moments. Precious Angel, Gotta Serve Somebody, and Martin Knopfler's guitar work on here, Dire Straits guitarist and singer, is really good. Now this may look to you like, oh, what's so special about this? Why is this one of the most interesting things in your collection? This is just a standard Genesis Foxtrot. Yeah, it's cool, have it on on vinyl and have the gatefold, but you know, it's not exactly that hard to come across. No, it isn't. No, you know, you have a look at the vinyl. You know, it's not exactly a coloured vinyl. No, you know, it doesn't look anything particularly special, just on the Charisma label. But when you come to play it, it becomes quite the special album. Due to the fact, now this album is famous for the song Supper's Ready. Now Supper's Ready, about 25 minutes song, my favourite Genesis song. Now, everyone knows that this album's on Foxtrot. I mean, it says in here, very clearly, Supper's Ready. You know, you can maybe see that. No, this album doesn't have Supper's Ready on it. Now, you might be thinking, well, obviously it does, it's surely just on side B. No. Side B starts with Watcher of the Skies. What about side A? Side A also starts with Watcher of the Skies. This LP, it has 2 bloody side A's to it, which piss me off, because I paid a few quid for this album. I really wanted a copy of Foxtrot. It was one of the few Genesis albums I didn't have on LP, and the only version of this album I do have is a really crappy CD version. It isn't remastered and just sounds bloody awful. Yeah, so to get 2 side A's, I just thought, when I got home, I thought, okay, I'm just going to listen to Supper's Ready. I've been wanting to listen to this properly for ages. And I was thinking, this does not sound like Supper's Ready, or maybe you just put the wrong side. Turn it over again. This sounds literally exactly the same, and I've done so many comparisons all throughout. This really has 2 side A's. And the weirdest thing about this, right, so if you collect or know anything about vinyl, you know that there's sort of little gaps between the songs. You can sort of see between the songs on the vinyl itself. Now here you can see all the gaps you'd expect for side A, because this is side A. And here you do actually only see one single gap at the beginning, because there's 2 songs on side B, Horizons, which is saying 1.5 minutes. So you can see the little gap here where Supper's Ready would go into. But yeah, it plays side A, even though it looks, from what I can see, it looks like how it should for side B. It's so confused. I've done some research. Apparently it was a Canadian pressing, and it basically just went completely wrong. They're not exactly rare, they're not valuable, it's just a useless piece of crap that I now have to have in my collection. Hooray! I'm just doomed with Foxtrot. Utterly doomed. Bloody hell, it's annoying. But Sony was a bit of a bargain now, to counteract it. Jethro Tull. Got this in, Cancer Research in Edinburgh. And you don't often see Jethro Tull on LP for 2 quid. In fact, this is the only Jethro Tull vinyl I have. Now, the cover, it's a little bit beaten up. The record, it's a little bit beaten up. But it plays, and Heavy Horses is a strong Tull album. Definitely one of my favourites, I'd say. Not as good as Aqualung or Figures of Brick, but it's a strong album. I think I slightly prefer it to Broadsword and the Beast. I'm not sure, I need to listen to that album again. Now, a couple I did get that I paid a bit more than I usually would for LPs, but because you just don't see these too often. So, when it comes to Whitesnake, okay, for me, Whitesnake died in 1987. They just, literally, they don't even exist anymore as far as I'm concerned. And you could say, well, what about Forevermore? Do not mention Forevermore to me, or I just may have to block you, because that era of Whitesnake from the 1987 album onwards, they just died. Literally, David Coverdale may as well have died. But up to that point, we have some fantastic rock music, and I had all of it on vinyl from the first album, David Coverdale's Whitesnake, up to, was the last one, Slide It In, I'm going to say. And finally, I've completed that by getting Love Hunter with the extremely feminist cover. This is probably one of Anita Sarkeesian's favourite album covers. I can't see anything at all misogynist or slightly dodgy with a snake being wrapped around a naked woman. Nothing at all odd about that. Just what is it with some of the 70s and 60s album covers? Absolutely hilarious. But this is a good album. I mean, this is a reissue. It's a 79 reissue. Oh, is it? I don't know. When the hell was this recorded? I thought this was I don't know when this was recorded. No, this was recorded in 79. What the hell am I on about? This was recorded in 79, this isn't a reissue. But anyway, this has songs like Walk in the Shadow of the Blues, Love Hunter, Outlaw, Rock and Roll Women. It's a really strong album. I mean, this is classic by mistake, and finally I have all of it on vinyl. So that's good. So I was prepared to pay for that. And a band you barely ever see. I have one of their albums on my wall here, Demolition Man by Galscore. And finally, I have found Hit and Run, probably the most famous album. Not something I often come across, so I couldn't resist picking this up. It's really good condition. I have to say I haven't had time to listen to it yet. But I think Galscore is such an underrated band. I mean, in the sort of, just that, I don't know, they're just a great band. They write really catchy songs, and let me like them. That's how I certainly discovered them. Yeah, like the Runaways, just a great all-female band. Wonderful. Okay, moving on to the CDs. Firstly, we have something very classic, very old school indeed. Robert Johnson, The Complete Recordings. So, fairly explanatory. This is blues singer Robert Johnson from the 20s, 30s, sometime around then. Playing all acoustic guitar, of course. Classic music. And this is everything. I believe the only thing that isn't on this is a secondary version of Travelling Riverside Blues. There's one version that I'm missing. Can I cope without that? Yeah, I think I can cope without another version. One of the annoying things about this, and I don't like the track order for this album at all. Why? Well, it's because, for example, the track order reads like this. Kind-Hearted Woman Blues, Kind-Hearted Woman Blues. I Believe I'll Dust My Broom, Sweet Home Chicago, Rambling on My Mind, Rambling on My Mind. When You Got a Good Friend, When You Got a Good Friend. It goes on like this. Most of the songs, they have both of the versions, the standard version, the alternate version, bloody next to each other in the track listing. And as much as I love Kind-Hearted Woman Blues, I don't necessarily want to listen to a very slightly different version straight after I've heard it. Instead, I wish they just had all of the, songs, just one version of each, and then on the second disc you could have the alternate versions. I think that running order would have worked so much better. That's the only disappointing thing about this. But still, this is everything you'd ever need, unless you're an absolute perfectionist and really want that second version of Travelling Riverside Blues. But I'm just fine with the version on here. Great stuff. I like this quite a lot. I think his finger style playing, really just fantastic guitar playing. His voice, wonderful. It's definitely good stuff, I think. So again, some more stuff from Scotland, and we have Sigur Rós brackets album. I mean, this album doesn't really have much of a name. In fact, it doesn't have a name. It doesn't have any track names either. Everything's just called Untitled, so that's helpful if I ever come to review this album. Oh yeah, I prefer Untitled 6 to Untitled 2. Pretentious band. No doubt they're a pretentious band, but they were good pretentious bands. I like Sigur Rós. I've been played to a few of their albums ever since I got into Kaivaikor. So this is the third one. I also have a Jatis Brija. I don't even know how to say Icelandic, whatever. And I think this is the one that's in Hopelandic, the variation on Icelandic. Don't quote me on that. But I've enjoyed this. It's a good album. Yeah, I mean, it's a very atmospheric album. Quite ethereal in nature. Quite gentle. But definitely very good at conveying emotion. A lead singer, who I'm just never going to remember the name of, fantastic voice. I love his falsetto voice. And yeah, the use of instrumentation to create an atmosphere here, it really is masterfully done. I'm not sure what's my favourite Sigur Rós album so far. I'd say this is maybe my second favourite. I really think Kaivaikor at the moment's the best I've heard, but this could overtake it. I was a little disappointed by Jatis, whatever the hell it's called. Now this was something a subscriber recommended that I checked out. I can't remember who, but someone definitely recommended I checked out Mansun. Said they sound a little bit like Radiohead, sort of underrated Brit pop type stuff. It was sort of more edgier, more intelligently written Brit pop from the late 90s. And yeah, so when I saw 6, this is called, for a quid. I know the two most famous albums, Attack of the Grey Lanterns in 6. And this is really interesting. This seems to be almost a sort of concept album. I've only listened to a few of the singles. I just whacked a few of the singles on to give it a go. I listened to Six, Cancer, and something else as well. And I was impressed so far by what I heard. This is definitely going to be an album I would say that will take a few listens to get into, but it seems a very complex. It seems for the type of Britpop album, a lot more complex, very textured record, and more in that style, sort of Radiohead than in the style of Oasis when it comes to Britpop. Yes, a very interesting album. I look forward to checking this out in a bit more detail. £2.50 in Oxfam. How can I resist Duff McKagan's first solo album, Believe in Me, which was recorded, a lot of it was recorded, I believe, during, well, I think I read in his book, during the Use Your Illusion World Tours. He'd stop off in various studios and record bits and bobs, so this features some, I think it features some guests on it, I think it features some members of Guns N' Roses, shocker. I don't know, I honestly haven't listened to it, I've not had much time. After getting into my top 50 albums of 2013, again, Fate's Warning, 250 in Oxfam. I don't know anything about this album. I haven't listened to it yet, but I really enjoyed Fate's Warning's 2013 release, which I can't remember the name of now, but it was good. Very strong, sort of progressive metal, Queensryche type stuff. And I always see these guys always thanked in Dream Theater's booklets, particularly like the 90s stuff you always see, and special thanks to Fate's Warning. Yeah, definitely. Again, another one to check out. Now, I did find this cracking store in Edinburgh, which I have to recommend, called Hogshead Music. Hogshead, great, and I found a couple of wonderful stuff here. So we've already had Slow Train coming by Mr. Dylan, so why not a bit more? Here is Love and Theft. This is the deluxe version, which includes a DVD, I think, or does it? No, it doesn't include DVD, it includes another CD, in fact. And what does the CD have on it? It seems to have two songs. A song from 1961 called I Was Young When I Left Home, and an alternate version of The Times They Are Changing. So it's not an amazing deluxe version, but it's a strong album, Love and Theft. This means now I have everything of the modern Dylan era, which I classify from Time Out of Mind onwards, really his Renaissance period, from Time Out of Mind to Tempest, which was wonderful. I'm looking forward to his new release. He's released a new song, a Frank Sinatra cover, which is interesting, definitely. It's not amazing, but it's an interesting song, and I can't wait to see. Apparently it is from an album coming later this year, so I'm pumped for that. Of course, that will be getting a review. But Love and Theft, highlights on here, definitely High Water for Charlie Patton. That is definitely. Lonesome Day Blues is great as well. Tweedledee and Tweedledum is quite fun as well. It's a strong album. Not as good as Modern Times or Tempest or Time Out of Mind, but it's good Renaissance era Dylan. For $5, how was I meant to resist from Joe Bonamassa? My Joe Bonamassa collection is fairly anemic, considering I often tout him as the greatest guitarist of all time in the history of rock music, which I stand by that statement. I only have, New Yesterday Live, Driving Towards the Daylight, and now this. Now, this is definitely one of his weaker albums, definitely. It's very cover heavy, but it has some great songs on it still. Athens to Athens, Blue and Evil, Spanish Boots is good, Birds on a Wire. It's still a strong album. Bonamassa doesn't really put out anything weak, and certainly some of his earlier stuff can be a little patchy at times, like You and Me isn't exactly a great album. But of the post sort of blues deluxe Joe Bonamassa, which is when I really think he began to mature, is one of the weaker albums. I still like it though. I'm very pleased to own it. For £5 to have the nice hardback version of it. You never see Bonamassa for barely under a bloody tenner. I wish he was cheaper, then I'd collect more. But speaking of cheap, how much do you think this was? Alice in Chains Dead. So I'm going to see them at Sonosphere, so I've been wanting this album. Often £5 in CX, and it's like, I don't really want to pay £5 for it, but 20p in a car boot? Now that's what I call bargain. 20p for Alice in Chains Dead. How bloody wonderful. I haven't listened to all of this. I listened to some of it so far. I listened to Them Bones, Damn That River, Rooster, Angry Churn Wood. like it, great stuff. Look forward to seeing them at Download, and not Download, at Sonosphere even. Sure, they are going to be good. Okay, a couple more quickly. We'll have a classic album and an obscure album left. Okay, both from the 80s. Firstly, Motorhead's Ace of Spades. Now, you may be looking at me like, really? You didn't have this? Yes, I didn't have this album. Okay, finally I do. Now I own Ace of Spades, and the remastered version with 3 bonus tracks including Please Don't Touch, which of course features Girl Skull. Yeah, Please Don't Touch, I love that song. I mean, what to say about this album? It's amazing, start to end. I mean, Ace of Spades, We Are the Road Crew, Jailbait, Jason Bettman the Catch. It's just Motorhead really at their best. What more to say? And here's a little known new wave British heavy metal band that I think's a lot of fun. Angel Witch. I am an Angel Witch. This is the remastered version. It's only a couple of quid a car boot, which is pretty cool. And there's loads of bonus tracks actually. It has 10 bonus tracks, including some B-sides, some live stuff. So yeah, that's all pretty cool. And I've enjoyed this album. I've been listening to it. I just love the track names for this. I mean, you have Angel Witch, White Witch, Sorcerers, Gorgon, Angel of Death, Devil's Tower. Great bloody names for songs. Angel Witch, just a badass, evil sounding, new wave British heavy metal band. Great. So this has been all. My camera's about to run out and this has been bloody 20 minutes, but it's been a long time since you've seen me make a video, so hopefully you won't mind too much. This has been TheAIbumMan. Thanks for watching, comment, subscribing as usual. Long live rock and roll.